Hi guys, hold the presses. I'm interrupting my program on Hamza and his pamphlet on the Quran and the Easter eggs you might find therein to address an issue which I thought everyone was aware of. A person who seems to be one of Hamza's fanboys has made a comment on my video informing me that there are scholarly peer-reviewed articles in scientific journals proving that the Quran is really correct, and that all my doubts and facts of the contrary are probably just made up or magic or whatever. And if you look for this paper, it really does resemble a scientific journal publication. Yet if you read this paper, you can't help but smile. It's the same 20-year-old nonsense, complete with the angel and the really stupid pregnancy timing parameters from the hadiths. You get good old Dr. Moore, as well as all the old lies about nobody knew what is described there and that it was Muhammad's cousin who informed him about the mingled fluids. But now, who is right when it comes to these contradictions? Does that mean Hamza's information is wrong because it is not published by this organization? Now, how does this idiotic and fabricated stuff end up in a peer-reviewed scientific journal anyway? Well, the answer is it doesn't. If you look at the start page and look for the editor, you can't find one. Looking at the list of journals, you find so many of them, it's incredible. If you scroll down, you notice that they span different fields and have really obscure names. And if you come to the end, you select one, let's say chemical engineering, and just to see what it contains, you find only some announcement of some conferences. Well, you go to the archive and you select 2010. According to this, there's only one single entry here in the entire year of 2010. It turns out there were 2 papers within that month, but not more for the entire year. Now, I'm not saying that these 2 papers are bogus, but they are not peer-reviewed and have not passed any process of evaluation. And how can I say this? Well, let's first look at what the instructions for the normal scientific journal are. We have pages and pages of definitions and accurate specifications. Everything is described, including the name of the responsible person, complete with address should you have questions. The review process is amply defined. Now for the one on academicjournals.org. The instructions for the paper submission are very sparse indeed. The peer review is dealt with in 4 sentences and 8 weeks. But the important part comes at the bottom, the price. In other words, you pay money and in return you can publish any nonsense you want. Oh, yeah. We've already seen one example of what can be bought from this website, the label. The label is peer-reviewed. It's a label, nothing more. Another example shows how ludicrous this can get if the peer review function is eliminated. A hole in the roof is taken as an experiment to visualize dark matter. But, I mean, in the summary, the author then admits that dark matter does require real experiments. But this is hilarious. And then in another example, the Islamic Quran is taken as example for a management style based on the vague and ambiguous words in the Quran and the Hadiths. Amazing. But what do real scientists comment on this? Well, they're outraged and they call it a scam and spam and whatever. Is this justified given that the owners sit in, of all places, Nigeria? I found several examples of academics who were contacted and asked to review a paper for free, which was nowhere near their field of expertise. They were asked to simply submit their name and send it back, not knowing that they were risking their reputation and enabling the owner of this site a hefty piece of income. Now, there are several people out there who have picked this up and who are now actively campaigning against this dishonest tactic and publishing lists of dubious journals. And right at the top of them is the one quoted by the Hamza fanboy, who never checked and accepted this bullshit blindly and gladly, it seems. But if you look at the reviewers, you can have endless fun. If you look at a journal on law, for example, you find the editor is a Professor Christiana Maria van der Bank. Now, except for the first name, a normal South African name. If you look for that person, you'll find that this name does not exist in any Google page. Shortening the name, well, then it puts you on the right track, and eventually you find that Professor van der Bank is at the Vaal University and is the Dean of Human Sciences. Now, why would she edit and peer review a law paper? Does she even have a LLB? No, there's nothing there that would associate her with law. I now turned to the Journal on Evolution and hardly found anything in there. Looking at the instructions for authors, I again found the very short peer review description and that the author relinquishes all rights to his paper, and then the price. But what was a real shock, though, was who was reviewing the paper. Now, what a real journal provides is the name and credentials of the people who are reviewing your paper to ensure transparent processes and proper qualifications, which is doubtful if you have a Jasminka Illich Ernst who is actually Hazel Stiebling, or a Bob Moffat who is actually Georgia Alice Stanford. You start wondering what universe you're in. And Mr. Sewell might be a fine engineer, but what exactly qualifies him to review a paper on evolution? And Dr. Krishnan can handle atomic energy. Dr. Stellian, a brilliant analyst. Dr. Khan, a whiz-kid at the lathe. Dr. Udin, a compassionate social worker. Dr. Singer, fundy on mapping. Dr. Girgis, without department. Dr. Maingi, a great tourist guide. And not to forget Dr. Zhang, who is an expert when it comes to coffee. But is any one of them qualified, capable, and able to review a scientific paper on evolutionary biology? Academicjournals.org seems to think so. This is a list of pointers what to look for when assessing the validity of a paper. We see that whatever comes out of these title label factories can be spotted, but you need to want to. And then finally, yes, please don't let anything stop you from being just a little bit skeptical and using both brain cells, what Hamza's fanboys seem to be incapable of. Thank you for your time.